Hello, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. My name is Chris Legaspi, and today we are going to continue with the head drawing exercises series. Today's topic will be drawing the nose. So I'm going to cover some exercises to help you understand and improve the nose, and these are going to be a lot of very beginner-friendly exercises. We're going to start from the least difficult to it gets gradually harder and harder as we go along.
And before we begin, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to my free Insiders Club. Insiders Club members get first access to these weekly live streams, and you also get access to other live events, and you get discounts on courses and programs, along with access to free lessons and other free content available only to subscribers. So all you have to do is go to www.drawwithchris.com, and there you can enter your email and you'll be good to go.
So we're going to begin by doing some warm-up sketches. We're going to do warm-up exercise, what I call the door stopper exercise. Then we're going to copy some diagrams after Bernd Hogarth. And then we're going to trace the nose from photo, so do a study from photo. And then we're also going to do freehand drawing, a study after a master artist. And then we're going to do a nose study from photography. So thank you for joining me today. If you're watching for the first time or you're watching on replay, comment below. Let me know, where are you located? Where are you watching from? What time is it for you? I am currently in Thailand at the moment, and it's about 9 in the morning for me. So thank you for joining me wherever you are. We're going to begin with some warm-up sketches here. It's our first exercise. I call this the door stopper. And why do I call it door stopper? Well, because the nose in its most primitive form kind of looks like a door stopper. It's that triangle wedge thing, little rubber thing you put in a door. These diagrams here on the left are from Bernd Hogarth's head drawing book. And, that's a really basically the construction that we're going to practice, this kind of triangular wedge-like door stopper looking construction thing. Let's do some warm-up sketching of that. And if you're watching at home, definitely follow along. This is just a fun little warm-up that we can all do. So what I'm going to do first, I'm going to kind of sketch a the sphere, kind of the egg that kind of represents the head. And then I'm going to sketch the door stopper. I'll put the crosshairs, vertical and horizontal center. Then I'm going to kind of approximate, this is a front view, my little door stopper. It's basically a triangle. I'm going to draw it a little bit bigger so you can see what it looks like in front view. So that's be the top plane of the nose, the side plane, and then the under plane of the nose is where the nostrils would be. And this will make a little bit more sense as we go along, but just kind of keep in mind that simplified construction that we saw from Bernd Hogarth. So this is our little door stopper in front view. Now, obviously, we got to, draw various views turned ahead. So just do the same thing here. I'm going to go and turn our nose slightly to the right. So imagine 3/4 view. And that's it. Now I'm going to turn it a little bit more. And, you don't have to be perfectly accurate. You don't have to be perfectly symmetrical or anything. Just get used to the idea that the nose can be constructed in this very simple shape and start to play with, start to get the feel for the planes. The nose has very clear planes. Okay, I'm gonna do one more from the side. Let's see what that looks like. So that's basically what the nose looks like from the side view. The eye would be here, and the mouth would be here, so on. The ear would be here. And obviously, besides turning left to right, we also want to, the head has to be looking up or down. So I'm just going to sketch a couple of these triangle wedges looking up and down. And if you're following along at home, or if you're watching on replay, definitely fill up a whole sketchbook page or one of your drawing pad pages. So this is nose looking up, left and up. Let's do left and down. Let's see what that looks like. And let's see, how about left looking up, a little more extreme. This is a really tricky one, you know, where the head is looking up and you see pretty much all nostril. That's a tricky one, but you got to practice it. So this is a good way to practice that. And again, if this is a little too advanced for you, don't worry about drawing the head this far up. That's a tough one. How about where the head, I'm going to turn the head to the left, but we're going past side view. So imagine you're seeing a little bit of the back of the head. Let's say that's the let's be the brow. What would the nose look like then? See, we would only see the side plane, really. You don't even see the front plane of the nose or the bottom plane with the nostrils. Okay, so this is just a quick warm-up sketch. Obviously, you want to fill a whole page. You can have fun with it. You don't have to be as serious as I was here. I'm trying to explain it. So, but just get used to the idea of drawing this beautiful three-dimensional form. If you want to challenge yourself even more, you can start to invent light and shadow. So let's say I'm going to do one more real quick. So this would be progression 2. Progression 2, let's say nose, three-quarter view, but the person has one of those upturned noses. So nose, three-quarter view, and then you could challenge yourself by adding some shadow. So for example, I can shade the side plane, shade the underplane, and maybe add a little, I could just imagine a cash shadow. This is, if you're new to drawing, obviously inventing lighting is quite difficult. So again, don't worry about if this is too advanced for you. This is just the next progression of the exercise. Once you get comfortable drawing in line, then you could play with light and shadow and making sure that the planes, for sure, the side plane and the underplane will be generally in shadow because most of the time the light is somewhat from above. Okay, so that's B. Progression 2 is to continue with your warm-up sketches, but then also play with some tone and add some shading to the planes of your doorstopper. Okay, exercise number 2. We're going to copy the diagrams of Burne Hogarth. So we mentioned briefly Burne Hogarth last week. He's a wonderful artist and instructor and known for his dynamic series of books, Dynamic Anatomy, Dynamic Figure Drawing. But he also has a wonderful head drawing book, Drawing the Human Head. And I just love his nose construction. And that's what these pages are here. They're from his book, Drawing the Human Head. And so I'm just going to copy as many as I can. Really, that's one of the ways that when I first started learning how to draw realistically, this is pretty much exactly what I did. And you could also copy other great teachers like Loomis, obviously, but Bernd Hogarth also does excellent examples of constructing the nose. So let's do some copies after the book. Okay, so I'm going to start with this basic front view. I still vividly remember the day, the first time I ever saw Bernd Hogarth book. So I'm a little bit older now. I was born before the internet. And so when I wanted to learn to draw as a little kid, I had to go to the bookstore. There used to be, for the younger folks, there used to be stores where you could go look at books. They're actually quite amazing. They're not around much anymore, but anyway, I was like probably maybe 10 years old, and I was wandering into the bookstore. When I was a kid, I used to go to the mall for two reasons. One is to play video games, arcade games, and two was to look at comics and art books. They were always in the same store. But anyway, 10-year-old kid, I I discovered Bern Hogarth's book for the first time, and I was just like, I thought it was magic. And I vividly remember saving up my money to buy the book. When you're a kid, like a $10-15 book, that's a little bit of money. It could be your whole week's salary or whatever, or your allowance. Very happy today. I bought Bern Hogarth's book, which was Dynamic Light and Shadow. Oh my God, I still have vivid memories of that book. But anyway, let's take a look at the construction here. First of all, look at the boxy nature. That's so cool. Just like the door stopper we saw. I love how he emphasizes the cartilage. I just love it. It's a very, you know, I guess Roman nose is one way to call it, with the tall bridge. Very, European, Anglo-Saxon ethnicity, obviously. The shape of the bridge is going to be different depending on your culture, right? And Bert Hogarth is, I believe, he's American, European descent, American. Okay, I tried to get a little bit of that hatching as well. Now I'm going to copy the side view. Like I always say, I would recommend doing as many as you can. I'm just going to copy the side view now. And then after this, we're going to go to a little bit more complex one. Comment below if you have this book, Bern Hogarth Drawing Heads and Hands. It's not as popular as this figure drawing book, Dynamic Anatomy. And he's somewhat of a controversial figure in a way. I got lost in drawing that there. Okay, so remember the triangle wedge? It's definitely clear here, but you can see he makes a plane for the ball of the nose. And then the top plane is clearly drawn here. You can tell he uses the shading to describe or delineate the side plane there. Clear side plane, clear underplane here with his nostril. I remember Well, I didn't just copy Burnt Hogarth. I did Bridgman, pretty much any art book I can get my hands on. When I was a kid, I would sit there and copy the diagrams. And I remember distinctly copying this book many, many, many times over. Yeah, when I was college age, I didn't go to art school, believe it or not. Actually, I was on a nursing track, but anyway, during college, I didn't study my nursing books. Let's just say that I spent hours at the bookstore copying art books, sketching people at the cafe. That was what I loved, obviously. And I'm sure you're watching this at home. You probably same as me. You'd much rather be drawing and sketching and painting than reading nursing and those kind of books. Well, whatever academic book. Okay, so that's just a nice little copy of it. And I started with these diagrams because they're really simple, I feel, and they really show the triangular door stopper thing that we're after. In my mind, it's a very, very, very solid construction to use, and it works. It works. It's just very effective. I'm going to do another example, a little bit more complex. Okay, going to copy another diagram. This one's a little bit more complex, and I really love this diagram. This is the one I just fell in love with his noses. I don't know why. As a kid, though, the way he just constructs was just so cool. I think it's because I liked his work a lot. He was Bernd Hogarth was an illustrator, so he did a lot of these beautiful pen drawings, and I was just like so captivated by his inking style, I guess. Okay, I'm not going to describe his thinking here. A lot of what he's describing is the cartilage. He's constructing the shape of the cartilage. The cartilage, your is the material your nose is made of, except for the very top, which is bone. And the way he goes from the bone to the cartilage is so cool. I really, I really enjoy using that. And as early in my drawing journey, I used this nose construction quite a bit, quite a bit. This kind of Hogarth thing that we're copying here. Even to this day, the nose model that I use is it's not nothing new or special, but it's definitely heavily influenced by Bernd Hogarth. Okay, there's just basically a rough sketch. If you're new, if you're brand new to drawing and this diagram is a little too intimidating for you, I can see why. That's okay. A lot of these lines really are just they're teaching lines. He's showing he probably this diagram probably came from a classroom, a lecture. So these lines just kind of show the flow of the plane. Those of you who have drawn, or maybe you're seeing some of my videos or other videos about planes, so these little lines will look familiar to you. They're sort of Steve Houston calls them the box logic, box modeling. Normally, it would take a little more time, but obviously, for the sake of this live class here, I don't want to. I don't have 3 hours to do this class, so I'm kind of going quickly here. But again, if you're watching at home, if you're following along with me, definitely take your time. Take your time. Take your time. Take your time to kind of understand what it is here. Don't just blindly copy. Stop and analyze. Go, okay, why does the nostril hook back like that? You see how it kind of hooks into the nose? Does it do that in real life? We should go find out. Go find out. That's exactly what I did. When I saw this diagram, I was like, I didn't know. I was like, oh, I didn't know the nose had these little planes. And yeah, there are very fine muscles there that make these shapes. Very, very fine muscles, little tiny muscles. Okay, I think I feel pretty good about my Hogarth copy here. I think I'm not going to, not going to hang it up on my wall, but yeah, just another good exercise to become familiar with a process of constructing the nose. Okay, exercise number 3. We're going to trace the nose from photo, and what specifically I'm looking for is exactly what we just copied with the Byrne Hogarth, the big planes, right? The smaller planes of the anatomy, right? The front plane, the side plane. The underplane is real important for us to become familiar with. The connection to the eye, which also makes the side plane. So let's start with that now. So I like this photo because it has beautiful lighting, and she has obviously a very beautiful woman with a very, very pretty nose with very clear anatomy. So let's just quickly, oops, it's actually more of an angle, huh? And beautiful lighting. So that is usually very clear. There's a corner here. In light, there's a clear corner here, and that really tells you where the keystone and the nasal would basically where their nose begins. Your nasal bone is right here, and then if you notice on well, let's start with the side plane first. So I'm going to follow the tear duct to the line that separates the nose from, this is called the keystone. The keystone is the part of your eye socket, the brow ridge. It's orbital bone right here, and then they meet in the middle at the keystone. So it's a part of the bone that is in between your brow bones and transitions into the nasal bone. So this line is very important for us to become familiar with. And typically in side view or 3/4 is much more obvious because that's where the nose dips in and then pops out. But anyway, let's follow that to the tear duct. So the tear duct, remember, just like we just saw in Byrne Hogarth's diagrams, follow that down, gives us an approximation of the side plane. This is just a construction of it, right? We know that this is just a construction of it. We know that it does kind of go in a little bit. And to be more specific, it actually really curves out. The anatomy kind of bumps out. But just to be focused on the nose and the planes. So now let's talk about the underplane. So let's look at the shadow. This one has nice shadow. And there's a clear ball of the nose, right? This little thing here. But more important is that let's just follow the major planes first. So if we stop the front plane at where the shadow ends and just draw that line, Then it becomes the beginning of the underplane, and we can follow that line to the corner of the nostril, right where it starts to turn into shadow. You see that? Right here you have light, and then underneath you have shadow, and we know that's the underplane. And then we can just kind of connect it in a way like that, not necessarily a straight, perfect box, but that works as well. And then this little line separates the nostril opening from the ball of the nose in front view. So that's really nice. We got that going. Now I'm going to just sketch a few more details or trace. So here's the ball of the nose, and it's really literally a ball. It's very round on a lot of people. The wings of the nostril, and the wings of the nostril align with the top of the ball of the nose. So if you can see one but you can't see the other, know that they align with each other. And then the part where the nose bone, the nasal bone ends, and then the cartilage begins. I can see it from experience. There's a little bump. You guys see that right here? Let's look at the reference. You see I'm following the shadow. It kind of curves outward and then back inward. That makes a corner. And that little corner is the nasal bone. That little corner. Again, it's side view or 3/4. You can more closely see it. And then if we follow, we can even follow the shape of the Hogarth diagram. If we remember, we just copied Hogarth. Remember all the breaks in the anatomy he put in the middle on the bridge of the nose. That's exactly what he was doing here. Okay, that's a fairly simple and basic tracing. Let's look at one more example. Obviously, multiple views is really the key to understanding the nose. Okay, another example here. This young man has a clear, defined nose, easy to see. So I'm going to trace the front plane very clear, very easy. You can see you can just basically follow the shadow all the way down. And again, right here, you see where the nose shadow is, and it starts to turn downwards. Right here, it's front plane. It's front plane here, and then it starts to turn downward. You see a little bit of shadow. That is the beginning of the underplane. And then we follow that to the corner of the nostril, the wing on the nostril, and then that becomes our underplane there. And then we know that the eye makes a nice tear duct of the eye, makes a nice straight path for us to draw the side plane of the nose. So here we have our first basic box model, our door stopper. Remember the door stopper? Now I'm just going to add a few more details here. So what I want to know also is just like before, where the keystone is here, but then the nasal bone's here, and then it turns inward into the cartilage, and then the ball of the nose, and then the wings of the nostril. You can even define the underplane of that, and now it's starting to look like the Bern-Hogarth diagram. And on our reference, you can see it clearly here. You see how the shadow, so this is the top plane and side plane. So this is keystone, this is bone. And you see how it curves in to the left and then out. So there's a corner there, corner. So that's the keystone. Now the nasal bone goes outward, right down into the right, and then down into the left. You see that? And that corner right there is the corner of the nasal bone. All right, so that's a nice, very quick and simple tracing. Okay, exercise number 4. We're going to do a master study, a master copy of the nose, focused specifically on the nose. Today, this example is by Ilya Repin. In the previous video, we talked about Nikolai Fechin, also another great Russian master. Repin is one of the great Russian masters from history. Wonderful, wonderful, and prolific painter. Excellent, excellent, excellent draftsman. And I love the Russian academic style. They love to emphasize anatomy and planes. The plane language is very, very clear. Okay, so let's do a little copy here after Repin. He has so many examples. I had a hard time choosing just one really nice nose. I like this nose because it has very clear anatomy. That's why I chose this nose for this exercise. So I'm starting with the center line and vertical and horizontal center, right? This is the two axes I need to place the nose. One of the corners, my philosophy is the placement is more important really than the anatomy. So I gotta make sure the nose is in the right place. And then I could do my box, my construction and things. So here we go. Remember the door stopper? There it is again. There's our good friend, the door stopper. Very simple triangular wedge, looking at the top plane, looking at the side planes, looking at the tear duct here. Side of the nostrils, the thickness of the top plane, the thickness of the ball. Kind of sketch the ball of the nose. He has a very clear and visible ball, and he has beautiful, clear anatomy in the bridge of his nose. Another reason why I chose this one. And very pretty wings. He's a rough-looking character, but he has a beautiful nose, in my opinion, or was painted beautifully, that's for sure. Okay, so I got my nostrils. I got the ball of the nose. We're slightly above this nose. He's looking slightly down and we're slightly above, so we don't see any nostrils. That's okay, we still got to get our shapes right. We do see the wings of the nostrils, though. So we got to make sure those shapes look good. Really, that's my main goal right now is I'm studying the nose, but I'm also trying my best to be true to the original here. I may not completely succeed in that area, but at least I'll try to be true to the original, match their shapes, their drawing. Really, that's what I'm trying to do. Even though it's a painting, the drawing is very important, more important than the painting, in my opinion. Okay, and well, I feel pretty good about the line drawing. I think obviously it's going to need some tone, so it looks more like the original. And I'm going to do that now. Okay, so just quickly describe the main shape, light and shadow pattern, which is actually more frontal. You notice the highlight here and the shadow shape. So it's slightly to the right above. It's frontal, slightly to the right and above. So this model's most likely sitting down and the light is above them to the right. And I'm just going to sort of describe the overall shadow pattern so it'll give me a nice direction of the light. but that's not important. What I want for this study anyway is to use the shadow and to study how Repin used shadow to describe planes and the forms. So here's an interesting tip. Notice how the ball of the nose, right? Basically the corner from front plane to this side plane is really clearly defined. And one of the nostrils, the left nostril, the model's right, our left, is in shadow. But notice how he handles it. It's pretty much all a dark value. But then he puts a couple nice dark accents right here. You see that? That's how you draw a nose. That's how you draw a nose, or really paint also. That's how you paint in shadow. That's how you paint a little section, right? Because the temptation is to do this, you know, to make it really bright, brighter than it is. You go, oh, I see a little nostril shape there. I'm going to make it bright. But no, we can't do that. So let's follow Repin. Let's make everything dark first and then describe, use dark accents to help create the illusion of bounce light. That's what that is. But anyway, that's more shading. So now let's follow the keystone down, side plane of the bridge of the nose here at the eye socket. So this is keystone, which is pretty much your brown bone. And then nasal bone here. So there's a nice clear core shadow here where there's nasal bone. And again, another patch of shadow to describe the eye, the side plane. You can see a little bit of the anatomy. Notice how it's curved, and that's more accurate, right? This little section here has a curve to it. So that's the bridge of the nose. And then there's a little bit of a curve. So we want to make sure we got that. And then the nice strong core shadow at the cartilage here. It's really nice. And then there's a nice bit of shadow here at the eye socket. Typically shadow here in a portrait, especially most lighting is from above. So there's going to be shadow there. That's one of the recesses, parts of your anatomy that goes inward. So it typically catches shadow. Here, the side plane of the nose with beautiful anatomy description. I'm not looking at the tone really, but I'm trying to study the anatomy description. That's what I'm seeing here. See that beautiful little subtle tones, a little too dark. I got so excited, I made it too dark. So these are light facing planes. I can't make them too dark, obviously, because they're much brighter than the shadow. But they're sort of light halftone planes. Really, the light facing plane is the front, which I'm going to get to in a minute. I'll show you how we can learn from Repin how to draw. This is what I call sculpting. You're basically drawing with tone instead of drawing with line. So you're basically pushing and pulling, looking for tone. Okay, now what I want is the highlight. So I'm going to need some tone to do that. And I'm just going to drop a nice wash of tone onto the front plane here. And then I got to make the rest of it darker just so you can see the effect. Normally, I do this on tone paper. It would be a great exercise, a great medium to do this in. And the reason why I want the tone is now we can see how Repin used highlight. To describe the corner of the front plane of the nose. And then the ball of the nose, obviously. I can even, if I'm drawing on tone paper, use my white colored pencil to give me a nice little kick of highlight there. I'm not putting it there because I want to have pretty shading. I'm putting it there because it describes a plane. It describes a plane, which is part of the nose anatomy. So shading is fun, but this is not about shading. This is about the nose. Okay, so I think it's a good time to move on here. I would definitely, again, just like other exercises, practice as many views as possible. And of course, other great masters come to mind, the Sargents, the Rembrandts, Velasquez, Bouguereau has some wonderful noses, Zorn, excellent draftsman. So many to choose from, but the Russian masters are great as well. Exercise number 5, and we're going to do a nose study from reference. So this is going to be obviously the most difficult. If you're brand new, this may be a little too challenging, but try to follow along with me if you're watching at home. If this is too challenging, again, go back to the master copy, study some Repins, Sargents, Zorn, noses, master copy of noses. That way you can see how they simplified it, and then practice that until you can do your own from reference. So let's start with the basic front view. Just the nose, not the whole face. Again, keystone, bottom of the nose. I want to make my door stopper first, my wedge, my triangle wedge. This one is, again, another beautiful and clear reference photo. So I definitely recommend choosing photos. Obviously, you want to choose photos with good noses, right? Really pretty noses, or noses that have clear anatomy, variety of noses. You want to do other ethnicities, African, Asian, Latin American, things like that, along with Western and European. They're going to be so different, so you want to practice. Okay, I got my triangle wedge. I'm going to flesh out the ball a little bit here. And the ball on our model here on the reference has very clear planes. I don't know if you guys can see that. It's one of the reasons why I chose this reference. The planes are super clear. The lighting is really pretty and clear, beautiful lighting, beautiful, attractive nose with clear anatomy. So we're good. This would be a great example to learn from. I just kind of sketch the eye just so I know where I'm at. Again, when I draw features, I'm always thinking of all of them at once. So sorry, I know it's a nose study. I just need this. I need that. It's just it's the way that I work, and I think it's a sound approach. But anyway, there's my little construction. It's a little long actually, but that's okay. That's okay. That's okay. I can squish mine a little bit. Okay, there's my line drawing. Now I'm going to add some tone. Okay, I'm not going to do a shading. I just need the tone to help me describe some of the forms, the more subtle forms that are, a little bit more subtle, plain definition that if I tried to draw it with a line, it would just look a little overly messy, not as efficient anyway. So again, light and shadow pattern here has a clear single directional light, which is the best, in my opinion, to study. And we have clear definition of the nose here. Nice little occlusion shadow there. Creates illusion of bounce light. Okay, and I'm pretty much done actually here. What I'm going to do is give myself a little bit of tone because I want that highlight. That highlight's going to give me a corner. So I want to put that. Now the side plane is slightly darker. Well, actually they're the same value. It's a different temperature. I'm looking at it closely now. Their value is very close. Let me give myself an accent here because I need to know. Okay. I just need to know where I'm at value-wise, give myself a little bit more value definition with the dark accent of the nostril there. That's a really simple and fun and effective way to draw the nostril, is just to give it a little bit of dark and a good edge as well. All right, now I get my highlight. This highlight again is the corner, just like we saw with Repin. Use the highlight to define the corner. And I'm going to use white here. So in my sketchbook, my tone paper sketchbook, I would use white pencil here, and that also describes the corner of the ball of the nose. So a lot of things happening in this drawing, and we can learn a lot about planes and anatomy by studying this beautiful reference here.